morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this. And welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, good afternoon. How are you, dear?
Good afternoon. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. Doing very good. I've had my magical coffee, and that's not like a euphemism
Good.
for anything. My
Oh,
mug
okay.
just says coffee is magical on it. And yeah, having a good day. It's sunshiny. We did I haven't posted it yet,
hmm
but I can send you the raw video. Do you know this sounds dumb speaking it, but if anybody's on Instagram or TikTok right now, you've seen the dance of my money don't jiggle jiggle. It folds.
Yeah, yeah, that one's
Okay.
hilarious.
Me, Jada, Darlasia, and Leo did that today. So that's going to go on the Modcart Instagram in the next couple of days. And it was a chaotic, fun little disaster for a little while
Yeah.
because we were just like not getting it down. But then we finally got it, and it's cute. It's very cute. So it's been a lively day in the office. So
Good. Yeah, I know. I mean, content is such it's something that's completely out of my realm. Like, I'm not good at it, obviously, but it's
Have you
something where it's like,
tried? Have you
uh,
tried?
let's say it's something that I'm not interested in. That's a better
Fair
way to do
point.
it.
Fair
Yeah.
point.
So it's like, and with everything, I think in general, if you're not interested in it or you're not fully engaged with it, it's hard to do it well, right? Because you're never going to actually put your full heart into it. So kudos to you
Thanks.
for going on and putting together so much content for Modcart. And if you guys haven't checked it out, follow modcart.atlanta, and you will see Lisa a lot more.
You get a lot of me every day on the Modcart Instagram.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun. I mean, it's a lot of the content itself, watching it is fun. So
I like to think so. That's the goal. But how are you? How is your day going?
good. I mean, it's halfway through the week. I've felt kind of off because I think the weather's
Uh-oh.
throwing me off. It's like very, very nice, and then the next day it's like gloomy and rainy, and then the next day it's like
Oh,
just gloomy, but it's hot. So it's like it's a weird mixture of
okay.
weather, and I think that's like throwing me off because I'm just staring at like a very tall window in my office here, and it's just like every single day is different. But that's the Northeast, so
I
gotta
suppose.
gotta take
Yeah.
what you could get.
Yeah. It sounds like your body got a little too used to the Atlanta weather. And now it's like, why are we
I
still
think
here? Because
so.
you're not usually
Yeah,
back for that long. You've been gone
right.
for, well, it feels like a hot minute, but also I know you're going to continue to be gone for a little bit longer. So it feels like you've been gone for forever. I haven't
Yeah.
even seen you in weeks.
Aside from virtually, which so many people are doing. I mean, I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of, especially e-commerce businesses, right? They run a lot of their businesses virtually because unless
Oh,
you
yeah.
need a physical storage space, like fulfillment space,
Right.
there's not much need for an office because it could be
No,
global.
there really isn't. And a lot of the last couple of companies that we've talked to have been 100% remote.
Fully remote, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's interesting. I like working remote. Side note, my 2 cents, nobody asked for it. I like the idea of working remote, like kind of every once in a while. And
Mhm.
I see the appeal to it, right? Like if you have a dinner to go to and what you want to wear is dirty and you can just throw in some laundry real quick, like
Yeah,
do it. That's great. Especially if you have kids and,
right.
pets and stuff like that. But fully remote all the time, unless you make a really solid effort to get together with your team for like annual meetings or biannual meetings or
Yeah.
whatever, it feels like it'd be, I don't
Very
know.
disconnected, very
Yeah.
unplugged. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's hard when it's a cross-functional organization, particularly. I'm a huge fan. Again, just like no one asked, but I'm a huge fan of in office because of a lot of those side meetings, and just like in passing by, just having ideas that you could drop by someone from just
Yeah.
overhearing a conversation. Even it's. I feel like there's so much benefit to that, particularly in a startup environment. Um, Maybe as opposed and maybe not as opposed to larger organizations.
I think in larger organizations, it just gets like less gets done with the popping in.
That might be
Just
it.
just because there's then so many other people that you have to okay it through. And then it's like, well,
Right.
that 30-minute sidebar we just had did nothing. Literally nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah. But let's go on ahead and get into the conversation of the day, which is, of course, building Amazon storefronts. And the leader we are speaking with today is Gabe Ray from Evolved Commerce. Gabe, how are you doing?
Doing great, thanks. I appreciate it. I love the conversation. We're in the middle of that ourselves.
Going to more of like a fully remote deal?
Just yeah, trying to figure out what works the best for us and for our all of our employees. We have kind of a split team. We have half people that are kind of in office and then half that are remote. And it's kind of funny when you ask those that work in the office, they love it. None of them wanted to go home. They didn't want to, like, even during COVID, it was like, go home, don't come in the office. And they're like, well, we prefer to work there. So we kind of had to quarantine people and throw people in rooms and figure out what to do to make it all safe. But yeah, they love the social aspect. I think that's what we all crave, right? As much as we love social media, I think we love being like you said, having those little sidebars and meetings, but yeah, they can be a distraction as well. So
Yeah, maybe that's why I enjoy being in the office so much more, because at my last, job before Noviland, I was working remote and then was laid off because of COVID layoffs. And then I was just at home by myself for months. So I was just
right.
like, oh my God, my dog can't talk back to me. I need human interaction. And I think I'm like still getting like refilling that tank, I guess you could say.
Definitely.
But you are, I would assume, obviously not working from home. And if you are, that's an impressive garage.
Yeah. I wish I had a garage like that. It's what my garage looks like. It's full of just stuff,
boxes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just at all the Amazon stuff my wife buys every day. That's the size of garage I need to keep up with.
I feel that
with how much we fund it, right? No, but yeah, we work in the office. We're based here in Utah, and yeah, this is my. We were talking about this earlier. This is my Willy Wonka office. I can oversee the operations and see what's going on in the warehouse. So it's kind of fun to hear all the noise and see what's going on back there.
And if you guys aren't watching on the YouTube channel, please hop on YouTube, subscribe while you're there, turn on the bell for notifications. But you'll see what we're talking about with the Willy Wonka office. If you've seen the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, his office is overlooking the production floor, just like I think it was Veruca's dad was, and I can't remember the other girl's name. Anyway, well, Gabe, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Will you tell us just a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into this wonderful world of e-com?
Yeah, definitely. So I've always loved business. I mean, growing up, I grew up in a family where my dad was kind of an entrepreneur and did different things. And so my passion was always marketing, business, and figuring out how to make things work and sell them. And so when I originally got out of school, I went into kind of the SEO world, did website optimization, helped with all of that. Started a few of my own little side e-commerce businesses where I would just buy and sell products. This was back in kind of the eBay days when people would buy things and then try and flip them for a profit. And then started building some of my own stores and my own websites. And that initially kind of pushed me into this world of Amazon back in kind of, what was it, about 2010, 2011, I started selling on Amazon, doing kind of the arbitrage stuff that is somewhat obsolete nowadays, but basically going out and finding products very similar to what we would do on eBay, where you buy something and just sell it for profit. We would go to, whether it was thrift stores or garage sales, whatever we could find products, turn around and flip those, and then going to brick and mortar retail stores, scanning products, figuring out what they were selling for on Amazon, and doing the same thing. And so it required very little marketing effort from my side. It was more just find something that I know is going to sell well, turn around and resell it for a profit. And then that branched into actually my partners here at Evolved Commerce reaching out and saying, hey, why don't we go do this on a larger scale? Let's figure out how we can help and consult other brands to do these things. And so we kind of developed our own little algorithm and software that would go out and, based on the metrics we knew and understood would sell well and what products were good, we would go out and find those. We'd approach those brands and try and purchase those products and then resell. And so that took us into the world of consulting, because as we approached these brands and said, hey, we'd love to buy your products, a lot of people said, well, instead of you buying it, can we just pay you to manage it and help us grow? And so that kind of created our agency, and that's what we've really done for the last 7 or 8 years is consult and be a kind of management group for these different brands. And they vary in size from small startups, mom and pop kind of shops, up to Fortune 500 companies that are doing millions of dollars a month.
Very cool. And are you still selling? Are you still an independent Amazon seller too, or are you staying busy
Yes.
enough with Evolved? You are. Very cool.
Yes, I do kind of some of my own little stuff. I help, like I talk about, my dad's an entrepreneur. He works for a big pharmaceutical company, but he's like, I'd love to just sell stuff on Amazon on the side. And so I help him with his store, and we kind of partner together to run a little store. We also have, me and my partners still sell a lot of our own products. So a lot of what you'll see behind me is actually stuff that we're selling, not really our clients' products, but products that we have exclusive distribution agreements with.
Very cool. My parents, I think, have, just in me being in this industry and listening to this show, they've been like, well, if we wanted to start an Amazon business, could you
Right.
help us? I was like, no, Daddy, I'm not the reason I have the show is to talk to the people who know what they're doing. I am not the one. I can give you a list of people who can help you. It is not me.
Right.
Well,
No,
awesome.
that's good.
And so just to kind of hit it up top, Evolved largely helps with just Amazon stores, or you guys are also helping kind of build out the Shopify and, I guess people have eBay stores and WooCommerce and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
where does Evolved's specialty lie?
Yeah, so our world is specifically Amazon and Walmart right now. We got our start with Amazon, and then obviously as Walmart's kind of come into the picture over the last few years, we jumped into that world as well. So we manage kind of all the day-to-day operations of selling. We'll help you create accounts, create all your listings, optimize those listings for search, run your advertising, basically do everything. And so our world has become more of those two major marketplaces. And we stay away from kind of the Shopify WooCommerce, just because that's kind of its own world. A lot of the same tactics apply, but it's definitely a different strategy as far as like how you can do keyword optimization, and it's more of kind of the website SEO world that I came from. So I understand that, and for sure do it. It's just a lot more requires kind of a different skill set.
Gotcha. And obviously we're going to stick with Amazon for today because I can see you wanting to ask about Walmart, Francois. I see it.
It's just such an untapped conversation that's just coming to light, right? And Walmart is even still figuring all their own stuff out. So it's not that there's necessarily a lack of expertise out there. It's just, what can you be an expert in if they're still figuring it out?
Right.
But on the point of Amazon, and you've been in the space for a significant amount of time. First of all, 2010, I mean, I think a lot of people that you would talk to today would say like those were the glory days between 5 and 10 years ago. How have you seen sort of selling on Amazon evolve? And if you could talk us through this evolution, I feel like understanding the history and the experience that someone like yourself has, particularly for brands that are just planning on expanding to Amazon, is important, because that way they understand, what has been tried, what has been tested, and sort of, why has Amazon pushed to be what it is today?
Yeah, I think, we've seen a huge evolution when it comes to selling and third-party selling on Amazon. Back in the day, like in, 2010, and even a few years prior to that, the big game was just resellers. Everyone was just buying and reselling. It was what we called retail arbitrage, where people would go out and scan products, in a retail establishment, figure out what product they could flip and make a profit on. And that's what they were doing. And then as softwares and other people started coming out, and kind of these tools that started to come out kind of in right around that 2012 to 2015, we started to see a lot of that happening, where people started to realize, I can actually, instead of buying other people's stuff, why don't I just go replicate the type of product they're selling and make my own brand and build my own brand equity and start building up my own store. And so that's where we saw this shift in the marketplace from most everybody, in the early to late 2000s to 2010. A lot of people were first party sellers. They were wholesaling product to Amazon and letting Amazon turn around and resell it. And we saw this big shift from that to what we're still seeing today. We're now over, I think it's last numbers I've seen, close to 70% of products sold on Amazon are third-party sellers. So instead of Amazon controlling and selling the inventory, it's now independent sellers like ourselves who are saying, no, we want to keep control of our brand. We want to keep control of the pricing and all this other stuff. And let us build equity into our brand instead of just being a big wholesale distributor to Amazon. And so we're seeing that. We saw that shift kind of in that 2012 to 2015, even bleeding maybe into 16, 17. And then from there, we saw a shift into what we're seeing a lot of kind of over the last little while is these aggregators and these accelerators, right? These people who are these big investment groups or these big brands who are just buying up all these little stores. And so, when we all started our stores, a lot of it was just kind of a quick side hustle to make some money. It was something where you didn't look at it as like this kind of flip opportunity where we were flipping products. Now you have people flipping brands and flipping like entire stores, right? They're buying a brand, they're optimizing, they're customizing things, they're building and accelerating sales, and then they're selling it off to somebody else who wants to just ride that wave and make their 20 or 30% margin. And it's an investment opportunity now. And so we've seen this huge shift in the market from small independent sellers, little guys like me back in 2010, just trying to make 20 or 30 bucks flipping a product, to now people are selling stores for 20 to 30 million dollars and making these massive, returns on their investment. And so it's kind of cool to see, right? It's changed the whole way we think about selling online, to really having to establish and build a brand. You really need to focus on building something that's real instead of just, 10 years ago, we could throw a product up and it would sell regardless of what we did for marketing, just because it was one of only a couple options. And if you knew anything about running effective ads or keyword strategy, you were going to get sales. Now people are building like whole stores and brands, and they're doing outside marketing. They're building, social media presences to help, leverage their brand equity. And so it's kind of cool to see. It's become a lot more like this, competing against these big name brands and these people who spend millions in marketing and advertising. Some small independent seller like myself or these other brands that we deal with can compete in that space if they know how to leverage the right strategies.
And back kind of in the golden days, did Amazon have storefronts, or when did those get introduced?
It wasn't until about 2018, I think, that storefronts really started to pop up. And back then it was kind of a beta program. It was by invite only. And so storefronts themselves, and I guess there's kind of a point of clarity is you can have an Amazon store, right? Anyone can go create a seller account and start selling, and you technically have a store. The storefronts are like those for brand registered Amazon sellers. So those who have gone through the process of registering their trademark or their brand with Amazon, and then they're allowed to do some of these exclusive opportunities like an actual storefront. And so these storefronts popped up around 2018. And really for the last 4 years, it's kind of been that's seen its own evolution. Back then, it was just like an additional page. It was kind of cool. Most people didn't take advantage of it. Whereas now it's become something that is really just become like your website within Amazon. You can build out additional pages. You can build out your own, with Amazon posts, you can build out like social media platform. It's essentially Instagram on Amazon now. And so there's so many new opportunities that have come because of storefronts that if you take advantage of it and you're leveraging those opportunities, you can see some pretty significant increases in impressions and sales. I read a stat, I think just yesterday, that Amazon released that said stores that have 3 or more pages see an 83% higher dwell time. So basically people spend 83% more time actually looking at your products and your brand and learning about your story than those that don't. Because back in the day, you could just throw up one single page, kind of tell your story, and it was great. Now we're seeing people want to kind of follow the journey. They want to see the story. And so the more you put into your store, the more you're going to get out of it.
Interesting.
And is that storefront, is that from a consumer standpoint, when you're going onto a listing and it says like visit XYZ brand, is that the entry point to the storefront?
Yeah, so it's typically right underneath the title. So if you read like the title of the product and then underneath it'll say, like shop the XYZ brand store
Right.
or visit XYZ brand, depending on your browser, depending on which device you're looking at, it's worded a little bit differently. But yeah, it'll be that hyperlink right under the title, and it'll have the storefront there, and it takes you to that branded page.
Gotcha.
And on that branded page, I know you mentioned a few of the elements, kind of like having, your own Instagram, for example, and having Amazon posts. But can you walk us through sort of a brand's journey of how to create a storefront and I guess the best practices when starting off to create one?
Yeah. Yeah, like I mentioned, what we tell people when we consult with them is, as much as possible, we're trying to replicate and recreate your website. We want to have the same experience and kind of follow the same brand messaging and feel that you have on your website. And so with a lot of people, they have the kind of their home page or that initial landing page. Within that page, you want to obviously kind of tell the story of your brand, highlight maybe some of your top products, and have that information there, because within storefronts you're able to put videos, you can put infographics, there's sliders or like slideshows of different product pictures. So there's so many opportunities to put a ton of content out there that's going to help, again, tell the brand story. It helps legitimize your brand, and it helps get more products in front of a customer. Because if somebody has gone as far as to click on that branded page or go to your storefront, they're obviously interested in learning more about you as a seller, your brand, and they want to learn more about your products. And so as you focus on building out, kind of telling that story on that first page, and then building out additional pages, like I said, any storefronts with 3 or more pages are seeing it, almost double the amount of time that customers are spending reading and learning. We want to go out and build pages. And so what we advise people to do is, if you have multiple products within your catalog or multiple kind of lines of products, meaning let's say I'm a clothing company and I have t-shirts, I have shorts, I have pants, build out different pages or subcategories for each of those. Because the more pages you have, it allows you to retarget and remarket to those additional pages. So I can run specific advertising for just shirts or for just, quarter zips or for just the pants that I'm trying to target. And we can get really niche with who we go target, and then drive that traffic both from outside sources like our website or our own social media platforms back to that individual page. And the reason I say that is, we're all lazy nowadays, right? Like when it comes to Amazon, we expect it to be shipped the next day or arriving at our house next day. And so with Amazon, it's all about speed to cart. The faster they can get somebody to click on something, find it, add it to their cart, and check out, the better. So we don't want them to have to like click on our homepage and then search through browse through the different categories, find that specific page they want or product they want, go read about that, then go to the detail page, and then add it to cart and check out. We want to give them options to buy now as soon as possible. And so building out those pages and then driving traffic straight to those pages helps legitimize not only the brand, but it helps with the consumer experience.
I have to tell you, I did not even realize that you could have multiple pages on an Amazon storefront. Because after we started, talking to people, and they're like, "Oh, storefronts, users or like customers can get certain benefits if they follow a store." And I want to ask you about that in a minute. But I just like looked at a brand that I like. I'm like, "Oh, here's their storefront. Cool." Till you said that, did not even notice that there were other tabs on some of these. I just went on ahead and pulled one up. And you're right. It's a whole separate website inside of Amazon. This is very cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the point, right? We want it, up to this point, or at least until storefronts really became a thing. The only real estate you had on Amazon was your detail page or your product page, right? So you could drive traffic there, but like in the old days when there was 12 people all selling the same product, I didn't really have a way to promote my brand. And if I'm the brand owner, most of those people don't really care about the brand. They're just trying to flip the product and make a buck, right? Now I can actually build my brand. I can build a following, and just like a website or a social media platform, people can go and follow your storefront. They can follow your brand, right? There's a button there that says follow. And when they do that, now you've built out an audience, and then you can do additional retargeting tactics. There's additional advertising strategies you can implement to go after those people. So when you run sales, when Prime Day is coming up, or, we just had Mother's Day, we have Father's Day coming up, we have graduation. Like, depending on what type of product you're selling, you can build an audience and have, thousands of people that follow your brand, that now you have instant access to them, which in Amazon, like, that's not been a thing. They're so protective of all their data and their customers. For us to be able to grow an audience on Amazon is kind of a huge thing. So we need to leverage that, right? If you're not doing that as a seller, you're missing a huge opportunity, because that audience is there. They obviously love your brand, or they want to know. That's why they went to your storefront. If you can get them to engage and click follow and start, getting updates and notifications about your products and your brand, now you've got them, right? You've got that seller's ear, or sorry, that consumer's ear, and now you can, you can sell to them. That's why, people who have a good storefront see anywhere from like 35 to 40% higher cart values, because they came to buy one thing, and then all of a sudden you cross sell, or you upsell them an accessory, or a complementary product. So now they're adding more items to their cart, and instead of going and looking at other people's products, you've caught them into your little ecosystem, your little storefront. You don't have a choice but to look at your brand and your products. And so we see these cart values growing, and so you're basically getting a higher return on any ad dollars you've spent. You're getting a higher return on the impressions and the click-throughs that you're getting. And so the more we can just, get them in our bubble and kind of capture them within our net, and then don't let them out. That's the goal, right? The only time they should leave your storefront is when they're going to check out and they go to their cart, because they should be able to find everything they need about your brand, your products, whatever they need should all be in that store.
And how can you direct people to your storefront, though? Because if there's an item that they know, like I have a product that I just have ordered on subscription, the subscribe and save through Amazon. And I feel like I've never been directed to go. It's a beauty brand. I feel like I've never been directed to go to their storefront to maybe see the other items that they have in their line. I mean, how is there kind of a way to do that? I mean, like through your copy, or is that part of like the A+ content? Like, how can you drive people to your storefront from a listing?
Yeah, so specifically from the listing, a lot of what we will do is, like you said, we'll put it in our copy. We'll encourage people to go visit our storefront. You can also do things like visiting other ASINs or other products that are similar to that. There's actually a spot in your product details where you can list other products or other ASINs. And so that's one way to get them to look at additional products. But yeah, we try to highlight within like our bullet points of the product features, or within like the A+ content, learn more about our brand, or check out our storefront to see other products. And that's one way to drive them back. Now, if we're talking off of Amazon, so if I have an email newsletter list for my website, or if I have a large social media following, once you have a storefront, you have a unique URL within Amazon's domain that you can then target and you can send that domain out. You can do links through social media and everything else, and that will drive traffic directly to those pages. The other thing is running ads, right? If I'm running ads, I can target competitors' ASINs, I can target competitors' keywords, and I can drive traffic from my competitors' listing to my storefront. So I can steal, like you talked about a beauty product. If somebody's looking for, lotion or makeup or whatever it is, and I target those keywords, some of my ads are going to show up either on the results page or on the actual detail page of my competitor. And that will pull them not only to my, not just back to my detail page, but I want to pull them into my storefront. And I want them to see that I'm not just a single, product, that I'm this brand. And that gives, again, consumer confidence. They see that they're buying from an actual brand, somebody who's taken the time to build a store. And that's where we're going to see, like I talked about, that people are going to stay on the page longer. They're going to read up about your brand and your product. And then they're going to go check out, hopefully, with your product instead of the competition.
Yeah, hopefully so.
And is that a matter of when you're building the ad, you tell the ad to direct it specifically to the listing within the storefront versus just the listing itself?
Exactly. So, because different types of ads, and we spend a whole other hour talking about advertising, but if you're running sponsored brand ads, then that allows you, and it gives you the opportunity to target back to a specific page within your storefront, just to your homepage on your storefront. there's a lot that you can do and throw, the different links. Because again, if you've built out this whole map of all these different pages and different tabs, you now have whatever you want to be able to go and create. And so, we'll have during like big events like Prime Day that's coming up, we'll customize a storefront just for Prime Day, where the homepage is talking about Prime Day, or for like Mother's Day or for Father's Day, we might build a tab that's a Mother's Day or Father's Day like event tab. And then we're driving traffic, leading up to the event and during the event back to that one page. It's just like you would on a website, right? You would customize to target the audience and whatever is relevant at that time. We're going to do the same thing on storefronts. We're going to drive traffic and relevant traffic to where it needs to go.
And how should your content differ between, and I guess really more so imagery, between your Amazon storefront and your A+ content? Because in your A+, there's a space for you to kind of talk about your brand, right? The further you scroll.
Or about the product.
Or about the product, yeah. But I feel like some of them use that A+ as, we could pull up a listing and look at one, but I feel like there's always kind of a space where they talk about the brand and, either have like a little about or just a little bit of a story. Should those mirror, or should they kind of should it be different? I mean, what's the best practice with that?
So what we typically advise people to do is if you don't have product specific like assets or content, so if I don't have like an infographic or a comparison chart about my product, because that's typically what I would put in the A+ content. If somebody's on the individual detail page, they want to learn as much about the product as they can. They're interested in the brand story. You want to build a little bit of rapport like with your consumers by telling them that brand story as much as you can. But we want to try and limit the detail page because we're so limited on what we can actually put there to product information that's going to help give the consumer confidence in the product and add it to their cart. On the storefront is where we try to tell more of the brand story and the history of who you are, what your story is. So if your brand is tied back to a good cause or a charity or something like that, that's a great place to tell that story. Yes, we want to mention that on the listing a little bit, but we want to spend the majority of kind of telling that story in the storefront. Because again, we've captured them into there and now we've got their attention. We want to, use as much as we can to get them to stay there. So if I'm a small brand and I just don't have a lot of assets, to be able to use, then I'm going to take what I can and mirror them as close as possible. If I do have a lot, if I'm a bigger brand or I'm willing to go spend and invest in content and assets, then I want to keep those, somewhat separate. And it's a great opportunity to A/B test as well to see, if I'm not seeing people aren't lingering or staying on my storefront very long, then maybe it's because I don't have the best content. So I want to keep adjusting and tweaking that content so that I can capture their attention longer.
And we've hit a lot of buzzwords that I think is probably going to pique a lot of marketers' interest when it comes to A/B testing or optimization. I think a great question that they likely have is what sort of analytics and data are you able to pull from your storefront to know that any optimization efforts that you have, for example, the update that you'll have for Black Friday, knowing how much better that's going to convert versus not, changing anything from that storefront.
Yeah. So just like your detail page, storefronts have pretty much all the same analytics available. So you can see even down to the page, how many visitors you're getting, how long are they staying on that page, what the click-through rate looks like on the different products that maybe you're highlighting within that page. You can look at what the return is on your storefront. So it'll show you specifically, like if you're running ads, what the return on your ad spend looks like to those different pages or those different targets that you have. So there's a lot of analytics there that give us really good insight into, again, how long are people there? How effective is the content that I have? Like, am I engaging with customers? Because if I see people click there and then bounce really fast, then it's probably because they don't see what they want or they don't get a good vibe from my storefront. Mm-hmm. And so I want to look at that data, almost constantly to understand what effect is that data having on the consumer and then change it. Update it, tweak it. And sometimes it's as small as, changing the color of a picture or the model within the picture, maybe whatever it might be. There's so many analytics and different tools out there that can make a huge difference. A great example, a client of ours that we just recently started working with sells hats specifically for women, and because they have kind of a ponytail and then they're felt lined, so it's supposed to keep your hair looking good.
Okay.
Mine's all fallen out, so I don't really have that problem. But it was really interesting because they were specifically targeting like women of color. That's what they originally built the product for. And then what they found is when they made an adjustment with one of the models in one of their pictures, their sales increased 40% simply by changing the picture of the model that was on like their main image. And that one simple change saw a 40% increase in sales like within 2 weeks. And it's because all of a sudden it appealed to a whole different audience that they didn't initially think was really their target. But then by A/B testing and swapping things out, they saw this massive jump. Same thing with another client of ours that's a dog brand. They sell leashes and different things. They changed the species of dog that was in their main image, and they saw a 30% increase in clicks. Just because apparently they like that dog better, right? And those are little things that we don't think about, but there's so many analytics there to say, maybe it was, if we change from red to blue, and then all of a sudden we see this huge increase. Those are the little small tweaks that we have to keep making in order to see continued success and increases. Because people that just set it and kind of forget it, they're the ones that are going to kind of miss out on additional opportunities. Amazon just released a stat that said storefronts that haven't been changed within the last 90 days see about a 32% lower visitation. Wow. Meaning, if you're not making adjustments and changes, people aren't going to go see it, right? Again, we're spoiled as consumers. We want fresh content. We want to be excited, and we want people to cater to us every day. And so we need to make small changes, or we need to make updates, as much as we can to those storefronts. And that's going to also help on the algorithm side. It's, fresh content is going to be crawled every day. So if I'm making small changes or adding new pages or new products, it's telling and triggering Amazon to say, hey, come crawl my page again. And then all of a sudden I'm going to start ranking for more keywords. I'm going to start getting more traction with consumers. And so there's a lot of different things that can come from just keeping fresh content out there.
I think it's funny how, Francois, you said we're talking about a lot of buzzwords and things that are going to be interesting to marketers, and you stole my question as the marketer of the team. But on the topic of kind of changing up your content, what other kinds of content can you have on your storefront? Like if you have, if your brand's mentioned in a publication, like what we talked with Maya and Eric on the Seller Rocket team about, are you able to link that in your storefront? Like, is there a blog page that you can have? Like, what else can you have other than just kind of like stories and listings?
Yeah, so you can put videos, you can put infographics, you can do like screenshots of, outside reviews and things like that. So, if a product was featured in a magazine, or if it was featured on, a TV show or something like that, you can highlight that in your storefront. And those are huge, right? Again, it's consumer confidence. If I can show that, like, for example, we had another product that was featured on Good Morning America one time, and obviously the sales skyrocketed and the traffic skyrocketed because there's who knows how many millions of people probably saw it from either the original show or the reruns, or their social media platforms were posting about products. And so we want to make sure that we legitimize that. That was kind of a thing 5-6 years ago. Brands that were on Shark Tank, everybody was throwing that into their listings, right, and saying like, as seen on Shark Tank, was kind of the new as seen on TV. Mm-hmm. That was what people were highlighting. So putting that kind of thing in there, you'll see a lot of brands that come from these, whether it's Shark Tank or some of these other businesses that are out there where people can go and get funds. They'll highlight that, or they'll put a picture, or they'll put a logo, on their storefront showing that, yeah, we are that brand, or yeah, that's our product, and that's probably where you recognize us from. Again, it just legitimizes the brand, and it gives consumers confidence that they're buying, something that's real instead of maybe something that's some just overseas seller trying to make a quick buck with a cheap product.
Yeah, kind of builds that credibility, as opposed to, when you see like they're hilarious. I feel bad for the people, but it's like, I bought this dress off of Amazon, and then it comes in and it's like the size of a notepad or something. It's like, this isn't gonna fit.
Yeah.
Well, we know that you can advertise on other ASINs or on, competitors, products or, on specific keywords. Is anybody able to advertise on someone else's storefront, or is this kind of a safe, like, store only zone?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the answer is no. You can't run an ad like on somebody else's storefront, right? Because you as the brand owner control that entire space. Yeah, it's your safe space. It's your bubble. Once people are there, they're stuck, and they can only look at your brand. And so that's kind of the glory of that is you've got them in your ecosystem and they're stuck there. So you can take advantage of it, and yeah, no one else is going to be able to pull them away, short of them like hitting the back button or going back up to the search bar and typing in something else.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
And for storefronts themselves, I feel like and it's a big part of just Amazon and e-commerce, but it's just doing, right? Just doing and then figuring it out later. Would you recommend that brands just make a storefront no matter sort of like, do you have to hire a web developer or a designer to make a storefront for you? Or would you recommend they just push one out just to test it out first?
Yeah. So Amazon has made it really easy. I shouldn't say really easy, but they've simplified the process of building a storefront. You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to understand code. It's nothing like building a website. It's all kind of drag and drop. So there's a lot of templates. There's basically different little sections that you plug and play. And so you can put in, like I talked about, there's like a carousel of pictures that I can put on there. There's a section where if I want to add a video, I just drag it to the different little columns. And then I upload the video or I upload the images that I want. Now, what I would say is, yes, something is better than nothing. Having a storefront, even if it's your best effort and you're not a designer, you're not like a graphics person, put something up because that's going to, again, help legitimize the brand and give credibility. Mm-hmm. If I'm really serious about wanting to grow it, then I would hire some sort of graphics team to help put together infographics. I would outsource hiring like videography. Build out these really good content and assets that are going to help sell the product and sell the brand story. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go spend thousands of dollars on that stuff. There's freelance websites and different things that are out there where you can pay a photographer, $100 to take really good imagery and do like rotating shots of pictures. You can go out and hire somebody to do videography or create kind of a 30-second like commercial for your products, where it doesn't require like models or other people to be in the video for a couple $100, right? So you can on a shoestring budget, you can create a decent looking storefront. Now, obviously, the more you invest into it, the more you're going to get out of it. But if I'm a small seller with a limited budget, something is going to be better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the caveat is you have to be brand registered. Sorry to cut you off, Lisa.
It's okay. That kind of led into my next question.
Yeah, exactly. You do have to have your brand registered with Amazon, or you have to go through a registered agency. So agencies like Evolve Commerce and other people that are out there, because we're registered with Amazon, can actually help you build a storefront without having brand registry.
Interesting.
And then, so once you either obtain your brand registry or you've gone through an agency, like you said, once you have your storefront, is there anything that a seller could or would do that would cause them to lose that storefront? Like you can do some things Amazon doesn't like and get your listing shut down, but can they remove your access to your storefront entirely?
Yes. Yeah. And I put together a list because I figured there'd be a question like that. I'll paste it. I can paste it in the comments. But because you're anytime you create a storefront or you add additional pages or change content, it has to go through a review process. So you submit the changes to Amazon. They say within 24 hours they should get back. It's anywhere from 2 to 7 days, really, depending on what the changes are. But yeah, so if there's any sort of content in there that is like not appropriate, right? So if anything that's like adult oriented, they're very cautious about. If it's talking about weapons or restricted products, so like CBD is a big thing right now, where if there's any reference to paraphernalia or drugs or anything like that, they can pull your thing down. And so what we've seen, some people have tried to get around that by building like a storefront that's not even talking about their products, get it approved, and then try and change it later. It doesn't work. You might get away with it for a day, but then eventually the bots are going to catch it. But if they're as picky as to see, like, if things are misspelled, if image quality is too low, so if like your resolution is not high enough on your images, they'll reject your listing, or sorry, your storefront. If you have like references to competing products or competitors, so you can't like badmouth the competition on your storefront or even on your listing for that, but you can't really do that. You can't put links or URLs like to outside traffic, so you can't try and drive people back to your website or say like, click here to go look at our Instagram or our Facebook. So there's a whole thing, a whole list of different reasons, but I'll paste it in the comments here just so for those that are curious, or if
yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
What to avoid.
That would be super helpful. And that's interesting. Okay, so you can't, just because in this conversation I pulled up an Amazon storefront and was poking around. So it's not directing other folks to their social, but there is a section at the very bottom of the Columbia storefront that says share this page with your friends. So you can share it to folks through Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest is what they have linked on their store, but you can't say like, go follow us elsewhere. Right,
exactly. So you can, because essentially that's just going to post the link back to the storefront on your Facebook, on your Instagram, wherever. So, which is great. Any outside sources of traffic are huge because Amazon's tracking that. And that's actually one of the analytics you can look at on the storefronts is where is that traffic coming from? It won't specifically tell you like Facebook or Instagram, but it'll say that it's a third-party site. So it's somebody coming not from Amazon. And so that's huge. And within Amazon's algorithm, kind of in the SEO side of things, any outside sources of traffic are worth way more than somebody just typing in the search bar and are already on Amazon. We can steal somebody from Walmart or from eBay or from Shopify. Amazon loves that.
That's awesome.
And will that also tell you which listings they've came in from?
Yes, you can actually look and see the different like which ASIN they've come in from. So if they're looking at a detail page and they click to go into the storefront, it'll show where they're coming from. So you can narrow it down to like which one of my products is driving the most traffic back to my storefront.
Got it.
Very
Got
cool.
it. I'm checking out this list that you sent over.
It cuts it off part way through the private chat.
Pretty extensive,
but it's okay. We'll post it in the comments after the fact if you can email it to me. Just because StreamYard has a character limit in the private chat.
Gotcha.
But it does give, quite a bit. I even with speaking with directly to customers using words such as you or your, that's specific. Like you have to be.
Yeah, we actually had one of our account managers that even just this morning was talking about a product. It's like a sleep shot, so it helps with sleep, helps put you to sleep so that you can sleep better and longer. And they made a claim, or at least this is why Amazon is trying to shut the listing down, is they said that we're making a claim because it says helps with insomnia. And instead they were like, you need to adjust the wording to say like, has been proven to help with insomnia. And then we have to reference like some sort of study that we've had done.
Yeah.
You can't, it's the same thing with like a lot of weight loss supplements get knocked off all the time because you can't say like that it boosts your metabolism or that it increases weight loss without having an actual legitimate test that can prove that that is a true claim, because anybody can put anything they want on Amazon. And so Amazon's done a really good job over the years of trying to police that, probably to the extreme to where they shut you down and the proof of burden is on you. But yeah.
And what happens in those cases? Let's say Amazon either they don't let it go through, they don't let it publish to begin with when you first submit it, or they do find that you've made a false claim in the future. Do they pause it and let you know exactly what you did? A lot of times we find in listings that they won't tell you. It's just, hey, figure it out. You did something wrong. It's kind of like your taxes. You did
I was
something
about to
wrong.
say,
You need
it's like
figure
your
it out.
taxes. It's like, we're not going to
Yeah.
tell you how much you need to pay, but if you don't get the number right, you're going to
You're
prison.
going to
Right.
jail.
That's
But do
right.
they tell you that on the storefront?
Yeah, so the storefront's pretty good about highlighting exactly what's wrong.
Okay.
They'll flag it and they'll tell you that the page was not approved, and they usually will give you a reason or two as to why. And then you can go jump in, and they have a specific support staff that's for storefronts that will then say like, oh yes, you made this claim, or you put this link or this URL is on the page and we need that removed, or this specific image has a resolution of X and it needs to be higher. They're usually really good on the storefronts, and that's what's nice. There's horror stories for days when it comes to detail pages and everything else with Amazon, but the storefronts are somewhat painless.
Well, and then what's the review and approval process after the fact? So you've made such claim, we've taken, paused your storefront or taken down your storefront. Okay, I've now gone
Right.
and made the update. How long do I have to wait?
Yeah. So it's the same kind of 24-hour process. In quotes. Because they'll reject it before it goes live. So it won't ever actually go live. So it's not necessarily being like taken down. They'll just say it's been rejected for X reason. Once you fix it, you resubmit. They go through that additional, 2 to 7 day approval process. And then once it's been approved, or if it's rejected again, they'll just notify you. And so you just kind of go through that cycle of making the changes, making the adjustments, resubmitting, and eventually it will go live.
So if I have a up and running storefront and then I try to change out some imagery for a sale or a special coming up and it goes under review and they don't publish it live, the content I had previously still stays live while I'm trying to fix whatever they didn't like for the update?
Correct. Yeah. As long as you're just saying I'm trying to change something and you're not creating a new page, then those changes just won't reflect until they've been approved. So yeah, it shouldn't take down your whole page unless you did drastic changes that, like if you change the whole outline of the page, then that could have that effect. That's why like we recommend when you do these special pages for special events is usually just creating a new page. Because once it's been approved, it'll go live and then you can just delete the page after the event.
Okay. Now, what if and this is probably a more involved question, but what if you do a rebrand? So if you're changing the name of your brand from, what is it? Oh, like TGI Fridays is no longer TGI Fridays. Now it's just Fridays.
Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah. So like in the LinkedIn world, even if you try to just make that change, they say no, because it's too much of a change. What does Amazon say if you're doing a gentle rebrand like that?
Yeah. So if hit and miss, we've had some brands that have done rebrands or changed or updated their logo or whatever it might be. If it's a big enough change that Amazon's going to recognize that, like, hey, something's different, they may flag it and ask you to justify the change. If you go as far as to actually change like your trademark name or logo, then you would have to resubmit and get new brand registry under that new name or register that brand. And then you could create a second storefront or, transition that storefront into the new brand and the new name. But if you were just to, make some minor changes, like if the logo gets changed, but the trademark name is not any different, you would be okay to just update the image and change the logos.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, this has been awesome. I have loved this conversation.
I didn't know that they were so impactful, storefronts. I
didn't
might
either.
start checking them out whenever I go shopping on Amazon.
Well, that's the thing. It's interesting how impactful they are because, and not like I poll my friends about their Amazon usage, but it's like, I don't know how often myself, I'm not really checking out the storefronts that often. Like it wasn't until I started this job and we started talking about this all the time. I'm like, let me see what you got. Like, cause it's almost more of like insider. I mean, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Like you said, that they made such a difference to, the revenue of the brand. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I think where you see the biggest push and where most people, cause again, the average consumer probably doesn't, like, I guess on their own, go and navigate to the storefront. Like a lot of people aren't clicking on that hyperlink under the title. They're not necessarily going that far. Because again, we're trying to just get there and get going as fast as possible. We just want to find a product, add it to cart, and leave. Where we're seeing the biggest kind of impact with storefronts is running effective ad strategies to those storefronts. So, there's a stat out there that says 80% of shoppers like start their search on Amazon. So if I'm going to buy something and I don't have like necessarily a specific brand or model or something in mind, 80% of people usually just go to Amazon and type in a generic keyword and they start searching for product. That's where you're going to have the most impact, is targeting those keywords and driving that traffic instead of to your detail page, drive it back to your storefront. Because again, now you pulled them into your ecosystem and now you kind of control their experience on Amazon. Instead of them clicking on different detail pages and looking at different products on the results page, because now there's 40 different options from 40 different brands. And now your percentage, your close rate on that particular product is going to be so small, versus if I can get them to my storefront, there's a very high likelihood they're going to buy my product. And so that's where you see the most impact. That's where it really benefits you the most, is running really effective ad strategies to the stores and then promoting it in outside sources. So like we talked about, those links on your social media outlets, put it on your website, highlight it in your newsletters, through emails and different things like that. And that's going to pull a lot of that traffic. That's probably why we see higher like dwell times. It's probably why we see higher cart values when people get to there, because they've kind of already done the preliminary research and study about the product or whatever. Now they're there and they're just kind of learning last minute details and then checking out.
And if there's an Amazon seller listening to this, or I'm sorry, an Amazon business owner, and they say, gee, I want help building out my storefront and running ads to that storefront, maybe I want to work with Gabe and his team. Where can they find more information about Evolved Commerce?
Yeah, you can go to our website, so evolvedcommerce.com. That's a perfect spot to go. There's a contact link within there. If you go to our page, you can fill out a quick form. It'll ask you just kind of who you are, what your business is, and give us your contact information. Then a member of our team, one of our strategists, will reach out and they'll just want to talk to you about, okay, what are things looking like on Amazon? How long have you been selling? What's been your experience to this point? And then they'll run an actual audit. So they'll give you a free audit and a strategy analysis to say, here's what we see based on our experience. Here's what we recommend you need to go do. And if you would like us to do that, then we'll do a proposal and quote you on what it would take. A lot of what we do, just to be very clear, is not really one-off kind of projects. So we wouldn't necessarily just go build your storefront or just run your advertising. We do full-on management. And so you can basically hand over the Amazon day-to-day operations to us. Let us leverage our 10 plus years of experience managing accounts. And you can go back to just kind of building your brand, managing your website. If it's distribution into brick and mortar that you're trying to get, it takes a lot off your plate and allows you to grow your business without necessarily needing to expand kind of your head count or your overhead.
And I know that you said you guys work with like small mom and pops all the way to, Fortune 500s, but is there a kind of a snapshot of what a best fit customer looks like for you guys, or a best fit client, since you are working with them long term?
Yeah, for us, we want somebody that, we'll take somebody, whether it's one product or, we have a client that has, I think, close to 20,000 SKUs. We'll work with any size company as long as there's somebody that's ready to invest in growing the business. And so, we used to put a number and say, ideally we want somebody that's generating $10,000 a month in sales, because they're at a point where now they can spend a little bit in ads, they can spend a little bit in marketing. Because that's one of the first things our team is going to go out and do, is say, like, look, here's the proven, strategy that we know will work, and then we'll adapt it as best we can to your situation. But people need to be ready to spend, $1,500 to $2,000 a month in ads. They need to be ready to, invest in getting new content and assets for their storefront or for their detail page, because that's what differentiates you in today's world, right? Gone are the days of being able to just kind of create a listing on my cell phone and start making a bunch of money on Amazon. I've got to take time and effort into building a legitimate brand and experience. And so that's where our team's going to help. They're going to go in and do all that. And then, really our bread and butter and what we kind of pride ourselves on being the best at is growing the number of keywords that you rank for and running a really highly profitable advertising platform. Meaning you should be getting at a minimum, a 4 to 5x return on any dollars you put into ads. So that same $2,000 budget should be generating $8,000 to $10,000 in sales for you. If it's not, if you're getting a 1-to-1 return on your ads, you're losing money. Even if you're getting a 2-to-1, you're probably losing money on Amazon, depending on what your margins look like. So for us, we dictate a successful, campaign and a successful client as somebody who is profitable. We don't want you to just go spend a bunch of money to grow and you're just buying revenue. We want you to be a profitable business, or else you don't stay with us very long. And we work on month-to-month agreements. We don't lock you into a year contract or anything. So if you're not happy with us, you have an out at any point. And we like that because it puts the pressure on us to perform, or else clients don't stick around. But we've got about 170 brands that we work with. Most of them stick around for quite some time. And so we're pretty happy with that.
Fantastic. And again, if you guys are interested in learning more about Evolved Commerce, their website is just that, www.evolvedcommerce.com. It'll be linked in the description of the audio and the video experiences. Gabe, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciated it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was great chatting with you guys.
Great chatting with you as well, dear. And thank you for everybody who tuned in. If you guys liked what you heard today, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment with your thoughts, share this episode with your friends, subscribe to the show, and be sure to turn on those notifications. And that way you never miss a conversation with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Gabe Ray with Evolved Commerce. Thank you so much again, and we'll see everybody soon.
Bye, guys.